Hearthstone!
Hey, what's going on, Internet? Samwise here from Kaiju Hunters. Here with a second budget deck tech. My buddy Martin was talking to him about Hearthstone. He's like, yo, dude, give me some ideas for making the budget decks. And he's like, Priest and Warlock. And I was like, okay. I started with Priest, and that's been kind of harder to nail down, so that's not what this is. This is a very awesome budget Warlock deck that's so incredibly burny. It's great fun. Like, it's called the Drawlock. And all the cards, most of all the cards in the deck do one of three things. Give you more spell power, deal damage, and draw you cards. Sometimes they do both, like a Death Coil, but this sort of combination works out really well. You can grind your opponent down quite well and just sort of use the kind of weak creatures and buff them a bit, take out stuff. You can finagle your way in there, and it's like it takes you right to the edge. You're gonna lose so much health on your life tap and on using your Hellfires and stuff just to get rid of everything. But I've won a lot of games with like Hellfires. It's pretty crazy. So let's just go through the cards. Soulfire is one of the very few Warlock damage spells that you can throw right at your opponent. So I tend to hold on to this thing until the very, very last, because it's pretty good to throw out. You can throw out a Spellpower plus minion, and then this thing to, you combo it up a little bit. Soulfire, the drawback isn't too bad because it's kind of the only card in the deck that makes you discard a card. So it's not that bad, and you're drawing so many cards anyway that you're kind of replacing what you get rid of anyway. So you're basically discarding a card to deal a bunch of damage. Corruption, kind of the worst card in the deck, but very necessary. I would rather get rid of that and use the high-powered removal spell, but that's a rare. I can't even remember what it's called. I don't have any copies yet, but it's cheap. It'll get rid of things that are really badly in your way, but it's not that great a card. Just because you gotta wait a turn, if your opponent knows your creature's gonna die, most of the time, if he knows his creature's gonna die, he's gonna waste it in some maneuver to make it kind of worth his while. But it's fairly necessary. Warlock Coil, good for taking out weenies. Since you got a bunch of spell power stuff in the deck, I'm often in positions where I'm dealing like at least 2, sometimes 3 damage with this thing, and just wiping out a guy and drawing some cards. It's also very handy. It's not so bad when you're 2 for 1-ing with this, because you get drawn another card anyway. But if you're in the position where you need to use 2 burn spells to take out a really bad minion on your opponent's side, finishing it off the Mortal Coil isn't so bad. Power Overwhelming wasn't in the deck for a while, and is also our first common, but because all of the minions in the deck are fairly low powered, apart from the Dread Infernal, but even then he's kind of a bit crap, Power Overwhelming just sort of gets in there for the last bit of damage. But running 2's maybe a bit too much. I might take one out, but again, like in the common level, your Warlock deck doesn't really have that much burn in it. You just sort of have to take everything. And Power Overwhelming was a nice common that you can fit in there. Demon Fire, again, you got to take all the burn you can get, but he's kind of okay. I did used to have more demons in the deck. I did used to have Flame Imps, but these guys sort of sapped your health too much, and since there were 3 2s, they were still fairly easy to get rid of. So you're sort of dealing 2 damage to yourself to make your opponent kill this thing. Not so great, and especially if you've got 2 in your hand. I did win a game where I played 2 of these right next to each other on turn 1 with a coin, and it dominated for most of the match. But again, they're not in the essence of the deck. They're not drawing you cards. They're not really dealing damage, and they're not increasing your spell power. So they're out. So really, Demon Fire is a damage spell that will primarily get buffed. Like you won't be able to use it for a while until you get some spell with damage buffers out there. 1 Swamp Ooze and 1 Iron Beak Owl for the tech. Technically, this is an 8 common deck. Depends on how your meta is. Even though we're kind of in a global meta, so it's kind of hard to get an angle on this shifting business, but 1-in-1 seems okay. I've had problems with Ironbeak Owl that I've had 2 in my hand and I haven't been able to do anything with it. And Acidic Swamp Ooze is kind of good if you know your opponent's not going to have any weapons, just throwing it out there on turn 2, just as a 3-2 for your opponent to either deal with or to get in for some free damage. So I've been trying out one each, and that's fairly solid. Our first Spellpower minion is Cobalt Geomancer. He's kind of crap, but because he's low cost, you get to combo with other cards. So turn 3, if your opponent's got a 2 power minion, you can Cobalt Geomancer and then Mortal Coil for 2 damage. Again, he's just like weak enough. He's cheap enough to combo out with something else. Same with the Dalaran Mage as well, that we'll see in a minute. Novice Engineer draws your cards. Drawlock. That's the name of the deck. That's what the thing he does. Very good card to coin into early on. Late game kind of draws. He's still kind of okay, because you can put him out there and do something with him later on. Very much a primary target for Power Overwhelming, because it doesn't really matter if it dies, but again, it's got the 2 health. It kind of sticks around for a little bit longer than you think it would. And I thought they're a very good solid card whenever you're into control. Again, just to sort of sap more. Your opponent will deal with this thing. You might waste some energy doing that. Drain Life, again, kind of in the same boat as Demon Fire. Like, you won't really use it right away. You'll wait until it stacks. Unfortunately, the Restore effect doesn't stack with the spell damage, which would be pretty cool if it did, but that's me thinking of more Magic cards and not Hearthstone cards. But yeah, it's damage, you gotta take it. Shadow Bolt, yeah, good. Lower cost than damage ratio. As you can see, most of the stuff so far is sort of higher cost, lower damage, or equal cost, equal damage. Equal cost, equal damage. I would say that's probably about equal cost, equal damage. But this thing, it's a little bit lower. Turn 5, you can combo it with a, him. Cobalt Geomancer. Combo it with him to deal 5 damage to a minion. That'll kill a Yeti with 1 card. And you still have a 2-2 in play. Acolyte of Pain. Draws cards. Draws your cards. Yeah, he's good. It's good, especially if you can get two cards out of him. Most of the time you'll probably just get 1. Sometimes you'll get 0 if your opponent assassinates it, or something like that, just straight up removal. And that's not a fun time, but if you're very desperate, you can ping him yourself, or have him out with your Dread Infernal or your Hellfire, and he'll just, he'll sap some hits and draw you some cards. That's what he does. Dalaran Mage, kind of good. Actually, the 1-4 power ratio, he sticks around for as longer than you think, and being at 3 mana, again, you probably won't be running him out. Like I like to keep him in my hand until later on in the game, when your opponent's sort of exhausted their primary removal suite, and you can combo that with your other damage spells. He doesn't live if you have him out and you Hellfire though. It's kind of a bit of a pain, but if you're paying 7 mana to play these 2 cards one after the other, you're basically flame striking everything, which isn't so bad. Hellfire, because you got to take all it. It's the only AoE in the deck, but it's very key. Most of the time when we're running the deck, the removal spells go 1 for 1. So your opponent plays something and then you'll get rid of it almost immediately. When it comes to the 2 for 1s, where they're playing like Silverhand Knight or something, but they're making a 4-4 and a 2-2 for 1 card. Hellfire, again, not so great because those minions are sort of higher power, but the fact that Hellfire just hits everything. I tend to have a lot of these in my hand towards the end of the game. And they're very good to just combo with some Spellpower guys to deal the last amount of damage to your opponent. The only trick there, of course, is you have more health than he does. So try not to abuse Life Tap too much. Although Life Tap, we should probably talk about that as well. Life Tap, let me tell you, is really good. It's sort of, it helps the deck win. Because as I said at the start, this deck will take you to the edge of your health pool pretty much every game. If not, then your opponent's playing very badly. And as such, you shouldn't use a life tap too much, but you should always really do it in addition to something else. But stop doing it when you get below about 15 health. At that point, you kind of want to stop using it pretty much forever and just rely on your Acolytes of Pain and your other guy, no Singer, him. And finally, Ogre Magi. Fairly solid, actually. 4/4 for 4 that gives you more spell power. Is really good. And he's still kind of cheap enough that later on in the game you can combo him with another damage spell for extra damage. But he sticks around, you know. He's a good guy. Ogre Magi. And Dread Infernal. Because I needed a big beater in the deck, and because I kind of wanted a little bit more AoE, there's the Dread Infernal. And of course he's the only demon in the deck that gets power off of Demon Fire if you choose to do such a thing. But yeah, he's kind of solid. And again, he's not super top of the curve. He's kind of cheap. You can play him and do something else in your turn, which is what you want to do. Stuff that I would really like to put in. Probably that. Like Beta Metagame would be good. Like just more damage spells. The damage spells that are higher cost. Siphon Soul, absolutely would put that in if I had some, but I don't, and I ain't gonna craft any because this is a budget deck. But if you want a way to increase the potency of this deck, do that. Blood Mage Thalnos, the legendary minion. See if we can find him here. He would be great. I would say he is definitely probably the best spell power minion in the game, because he is basically a better Cobalt Geomancer. Oh wait, I went too far. Where is he? There he is, Blood Mage Thanos. No, this one. Yeah, like, it's freaking great. If your opponent kills you, you draw more cards. This is Drawlock. Drawlock the card. And I'm pretty sure he's a Warlock as well. He's not actually a mage. But that's the tech of it. The one spell power minion I did not use, although I did try, was Captain 4/7 power for 6 or 7. Because I don't have to craft it. He's not on the list. He's already on my deck. There he is. Archmage. Archmage fucking sucks. 6 mana, you can't really... You're not going to be in a position to combo with many of the other spells in your hand. And 4 power is not as good as 6 that you get off the Dread Infernal. And 7 health is kind of okay, but you'll still die. So no. No, don't run him. Dread Infernal is better, because he's AoE. And you've already got sort of enough spell power in the deck, although, again, a Blood Mage Thalnos. That would be really cool. But that's the deck. It's pretty cool. If you want a deck that's like 7, 8-ish commons, definitely make, if you're going to craft cards with this, make the other Iron Beak Owl, because you're going to need Iron Beak Owls. But check the link in the description for, I'm going to do some games with this deck. You can see it in action, doing its stupid stuff. And like, comment, subscribe. Tell me I'm being an idiot in the comments, and disagree with my deck building opinions. And let's have a discussion about this. And I'll see you next time, hopefully. Thanks.